Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see a number of you.
Thank you.
I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
I can pass it to Wangari, the button to Wangari to continue, introduce herself and her colleague.
Thank you so much, Joel Moturi. I appreciate your invitation to your group. So my name is Joyce Wangari. I am a consultant psychologist and research mentor. And I'm very excited to be here today. I was introduced to the group Anestor Youth in Business by Joe, who I believe is the convener of the group. And today's topic is very interesting. It's on mental health, and the tagline is "Your mental health matters." Another tagline I want to add on, or I will emphasize, is how may you support a friend who feels vulnerable and says that they are depressed. So I'm here with a colleague called Liki Omondi. He'll be joining shortly. He is a communications expert. Both of us have lived experience with depression, which I said is what we will narrow down on today. In my life, I've experienced multiple losses: family conflict, family deaths, loss of relationships, friends and family, just like we all have. It can be very overwhelming to have to deal with life events that are catastrophic, and at the same time, feeling alone, being expected to proceed as if everything is normal. And currently, we're in the COVID-19 pandemic. We do know that it does have effects on our social life, our personal life, and obviously our mental health. Our normal social diet with the movement restrictions was affected. And even now we can see the economic effects. And so I believe this group, Youth in Business, is very timely, to intervene for that. And this idea of not feeling seen or recognized as you suffer alone, it is real. So today, I invite all of us to witness each other, to learn how to handle pain, both individually and collectively. So you know that a lot of times we are in this culture asked to incubate the pain, stay with it, don't keep on telling people shida zako, kaa nazo, sindio? But today I want to show you how you can begin to process that negative energy in gradual steps. And so we will look at some steps, how you can recognize, engage, attend, listen, signpost, and follow up. So this is an acronym, REAL-SF, and don't worry, I'll go back to it many times. So let me start off by saying I have 15 years experience in the field of mental health. I'm a mental health practitioner and a mental health advocate. But I don't know why each of you entered business. So I know all of you, or probably the ones who are members of Youth in Business, are people who are aged 35 years and below, most likely Kenyans, and doing business. But I believe that as entrepreneurs, you're very amazing people. So entrepreneurship in itself is an act of resilience, and resilience is important in mental health. As an entrepreneur or as a business person, you are always tolerating risk, and you are action-oriented. You try one thing, you try another. So you're always dealing with failure in the journey of your business. But by being youth in business, we know as a nation, we are here to achieve 2030 agenda, even SDGs. I would say all those things are overrated. It is the daily actions that count. I looked at the group yesterday and I found that Joe is now talking about real estate investments. I mean, we've been talking about savings, now we're talking real estate, but you cannot do all these things without a foundation of being okay. We say health ni mali ghafi, it is a natural resource. You need to be, first of all, okay. And shortly, I'll be defining what health is, what mental health is. So we also say that charity begins at home, So finding your space in the world of entrepreneurship is not easy. So I acknowledge each one of you for showing up here today. And I want to urge you to move from independence to interdependence, where you can truly utilize the group Anestor Youth in Business to start supporting each other and growing together. You've heard of the Ubuntu philosophy. So in the spirit of Ubuntu, which means I am because you are, We are all in this together, and we want to excel, not only financially, but in all aspects of our lives. Today, I am talking about a serious matter. It is an appeal to youths in business. You have power to create solutions, and with that power comes responsibility. So you have a responsibility to instill hope in yourselves and in each other. So I am glad you could spare your time to reflect on mental health with me today. I feel like each one of you knows, you have an idea of what mental health is. And so I'd just like you to type in the chat as you introduce yourself. What are your expectations from today's topic? What would you want to really, really capture or learn on the topic mental health? But overall, as you introduce yourself, as you type in the chat, I want to thank you for your support and your love and your concern for each other. I have seen it in the group. So today I am just here to add my voice and my contribution into how you can continue building your mental health and resilience. And if you forget anything else I say this evening, just remember you are more than enough, okay? You are more than enough. So let me start off by talking about inadequacy. Remember, I said I'll be focusing on how you can help a friend who declares that they have, that they're feeling vulnerable, they're struggling with depression, or they have a mental health challenge. There was an unfortunate incident that happened in our group on 29th April, and I'll be addressing that. I'll not mention any names, so don't worry. But I saw that there's a gap in how we begin to help each other, how we can connect with each other, especially now in the online space. And when somebody is sharing, they are vulnerable, they feel inadequate, all right? So inadequacy can undermine us in all aspects of life. So how can we then support each other collectively to let go of shame? We say in mental health, the biggest issue actually is stigma. That stigma is the shame that if you finally tell people that you are struggling, they will attack you, all right? So today I focus on depression, which is truly the silent epidemic. There are many others. I treat people on a daily basis in my office for depression, PTSD, which is trauma, anxiety. There's a lot of bereavement. There is loss and grief. But today we are tackling this unmentionable topic of depression head on. And I'm going to be suggesting some simple, holistic, and natural options for you to add to your daily routine, to stop you from feeling so stressed or broken. I know many of you are juggling multiple balls in the air, so you may feel like you are reeling out of control. That is the stress that can lead to depression or anxiety or any other mental health condition, which is actually a diagnosable illness. So instead of putting out fires all the time as entrepreneurs, I want to challenge you to become mindful of your day-to-day activities in your life. So for example, I'd like you to try these basic things. Begin to notice how many hours of sunshine that you get every day. Are you able to walk outdoors? How many hours of sleep are you getting at night? This time, especially during the pandemic, entrepreneurs have been booked. Look at your diet. Are you eating a balanced diet? Exercise is very important so that you are strong and healthy. Look at your community. Do you have close friends you can confide in when you're stressed? And your spirituality, whatever form that spirituality takes. So one practical tip that you can begin to practice is just breathing deeply. So I'd like us to practice a very, very simple exercise, and we are going to breathe in. So don't feel like you have to put your video on. It can stay off. This is a safe space. But I want you to start noticing how your body feels after this exercise. So we breathe in for 4 seconds, not by force, just breathe in naturally. So everyone, I'd like you to try this. You breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and breathe out for 8. And as you breathe out, try expel all the stress that is in your body. Remember that your body catches what's going on in your mind. Your brain, your mind, your body, and your feelings are all connected. So are you ready? All right, so breathe, hold, breathe out. So the rule 8. You want to try this, especially when you're stressed. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be in bed, you could be walking, you could be taking a shower. And we now know, because of the mind-body connection, when the stress is piling up in your body, what you may need to do is just step back. And this is an act we call mindfulness. So it's just about being present. It's really easy, being present. So today we're doing a check-in. Remember, if you are lost somewhere, what would you need to do? You'd need to either locate your GPS or ask somebody, just checking your current location. And from there, you can reorient yourself and move in the correct direction, right? So while struggling through the pandemic, maybe a lot of you have been scrolling social media throughout. You're triggered all the time by all the sad news. You're maybe watching scary shows, I don't know. But I know that most youth right now are doing too much screen time, maybe eating junk food. So these are the things that I'd like you to begin shifting. So in psychology, we call it the fight, flight, or freeze mode. So if your mental health is triggered, you are always constantly in a fight mode, you want to attack, or in a flight mode, you want to run away, or freeze mode, meaning you are numbing. You're numbing with alcohol, you're numbing with just not to feel, suppressing those feelings. And the fight, flight, or freeze mode is not recommended for handling stress. Instead of that, I'd like you to replace that with another mode we call rest, heal, and digest. So we say, instead of incubating stress and it grows and it grows and one day it bursts, what we want to do instead is process it, heal from it. I love pets a lot. And have you ever observed how dogs shake off their bodies to release energy? So we also have a lot of learning to do from nature, because from when we were kids, we were told, don't keep, telling people, don't show if you're crying, especially boys were told not to cry. And so we do not release pent-up energy. And as we grew into adults, we have not mastered how to lower the stress hormone, which is called cortisol. So this is the learning and then learning we keep doing every day, how to handle stress. All right. So let me do some definitions. What is mental health? Mental health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. So how are you feeling today? Are you completely okay in your physical, mental, social? And it is also the absence of infirmity or illness. So there is no health without mental health. It is a state of well-being in which every individual realizes his or her own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, is able to make a contribution to his or her community. So currently, do you feel like your mental health is sour? Do you know your potential? Can you cope with normal stress in life? Can you work productively and fruitfully? Are you able right now to make a contribution to your community? And I believe you all are, even if sometimes you may struggle with episodes of stress here and there. But remember, mental health is the overall ability to enjoy life and cope with the challenges. And it has two dimensions. That is mental well-being, which is also called thriving and flourishing. So that is about life satisfaction, optimism, self-esteem, mastery, feeling in control, having a purpose in life, and a sense of belonging and support. So mental well-being is an aspect of mental health. The other aspect of mental health, which is what most people think mental health is, but it's just an aspect, it's called mental illness, okay? So while mental health comprises two things, mental well-being, the second one is mental illness. And that is a diagnosable condition that can significantly interfere with an individual's functioning and can cause distress. For example, your cognitive, your thinking, your emotions, your social ability. For example, depression is a condition that's actually an illness and it is treatable. All right. So then we have another aspect called resilience. I said earlier that all entrepreneurs are resilient people, remember? Because all of you are in action, you're always starting new businesses, taking risks. And what is resilience? The resilience is that confidence or the deep sense that you can handle any outcome of whatever you pursue, including unpleasant emotional experiences. These experiences are such as sad, shame, feeling helpless, anger, vulnerability, embarrassment, disappointment, frustration. But what makes it so difficult for people to handle the vulnerable feelings, also called the ache feelings? Why are people so uncomfortable being uncomfortable? Why do you think so? I think it is because we are not taught to handle this. And so if somebody came up and shared that they are feeling this, you kind of want to fix it, right? So here are the tips. Please listen very carefully. These are the tips for how to help somebody who says they are depressed and they are feeling vulnerable. Are you ready? Okay, so your friend comes to you, they say they have depression, feeling vulnerable. First rule, speak with ease. You do not have any license to be malicious. Be kind, kuwa mpole. Remember, she was totally volunteering, and if you begin to advise immediately, it is like poking the eye. The first step, I'm going to type the acronym here, REAL SF. So I said I'm going to teach you today how to help your friend. Yes, mother, thank you for typing the 478. That's the breathing. We breathe in for 4 seconds, we hold for 7, and we breathe out for 8. I see Nicola Sauta from Kisumu. Wow, this is amazing. Nguma, psychologist from Kilifi. This is amazing. So far, I'm not seeing any questions here. So I think, Joel, you will inform me or alert me if there will be any questions. So I'm now going to teach you the steps, and I'm just going to type them here so that you have them. So the acronym is called REAL SF. And this is how you help somebody who tells you that they are depressed. So the first step is recognize. Just recognize that they are in pain. This is somebody who is not joking. They couldn't have just started to speak on WhatsApp or hit your inbox just like that. And any simplistic advice may not be welcome because it may not be the most relevant solution. I know some of you in the group were telling this person, I'm not going to mention any names, but you started telling this, listen to music, accept the situation, it's up to you, kneel for prayer. Somebody even asked the person for offering, send your offering, na akatuma 316 number. That was, and it became like a joke. And what all that does, it trivializes the person who is suffering, okay? Then somebody else even said, you have food to eat, you are young, suck it up and tough it out. Those are not good responses to tell somebody, especially online. I'm not sure if you've ever met this person or you know the person, but most likely it's somebody anonymous in a group who's reaching for help. So you want to believe that they are suffering and just maintain kindness and just be there. Pinpoint the person to safety, okay? Somebody else was even saying, it's not bad. Depression never kills. Have you ever seen depression killing anyone? When somebody else said, just be positive and realistic. And then another person said, you will kill yourself, but depression cannot kill you. And then at some point, as the conversation continued, the person suffering, was in a very dark place and began to say that maybe you will also suffer the same. And then suddenly, some people started advising the person, stop wishing others the same, the same problem or the same situation. But that is equivalent to visiting a labor ward and analyzing the screams of each woman. You don't do that. There's no way somebody who is suffering should be, say, or do. They just are the way they are. So if you try to tell them that how they are speaking is really horrible, it's quite patronizing. So what do we do instead? So I start by saying, do not advise the person. This person came to you voluntarily. Be kind, don't be malicious. So remember, first thing is to be positive and well-intended. You've got to remain, you are recognizing the person. Just say, I feel you. Try to connect to when you ever also had such a an unpleasant emotion, even if you've never suffered depression, but maybe you've ever been low, okay? So avoid harsh criticism. It is really a distraction because it means you're not ready yourself to face those unpleasant emotions. And this person is brave enough. In fact, you need to praise the person and encourage them to speak more, because it takes a lot of for somebody who is already struggling, maybe has low self-esteem, to begin to say that they are really struggling, okay? So you want to, after you do, you attend to them, so you recognize that they are suffering, you attend to them, then of course, you've engaged with them, you are listening to them, you're not there just to tell them what to do. Maybe they will be ready after you've done the first 4 steps, they will probably be ready to hear any of your suggestions, but you need to ask permission. You know, mental health is now a human rights issue. And it is tantamount to bullying if you are trivializing and blaming the person who is struggling. They cannot just pull themselves together with your empty motivational stories. It is only when the person says that it is welcome and they request your recommendations that you can begin to give them strategies. Of course, we all have self-help strategies. Maybe I don't listen to music, maybe you do, but the point is to tell the person, I'm here with you, we will persevere together no matter what. You know, always keep in the back of your mind, it might be the last day to this person. So you want to operate like this is the last conversation, okay? So instead of intellectualizing so much with statistics and so many things, just being there, we call it empathy. So attempt a moment of empathy, which means put yourself in your friend's shoes. So avoid any trash talking. Just don't control or dominate or bully them. Just be there for them and tell them, I'm here for as long as you want. And you want to give the person the gift of your time. How you can create hope and resilience is just tell somebody, I'm here, whatever. What would you need from me for you to be comfortable? Then maybe when they welcome you, you can now start to give them some strategies. Of course, we know that depression is mostly connected with a negative belief or thought, and you can begin to show them how to shift into some more positive attitudes or thinking. For example, if somebody is already feeling embarrassed because they shared and people attacked them, they may probably even left the group, then in addition, you see, internally, they may begin to believe that they are an idiot or they are stupid. You see that? Do you see how that could spiral down into low self-esteem? So instead of that, you want to gently ask questions and maybe ask the person, how do you think this experience could be a learning opportunity for you, for me, for everyone? You know, just humbly asking and encouraging the person, how can we use this time to bring out the best in each other? Can you recall a time in your life past when you had a very challenging transition or event in your life, and how did you go through it? What skills and attitudes do you think you can draw from that past event right now and here? Okay, so when you do that, you are someone else and move through unpleasant feelings. We say that we never go over, under, side, or above our feelings. We go through them. So we want to go through the feelings. Remember that feelings don't pass. You ride the wave and it will lower down, especially when the person is witnessed and when they are heard, and that is what we call validation. So remember, it's an act of heroism for somebody to be open and willing to ask for help. Those people should not be put down. They should actually be encouraged. You all experience moments when you felt down. So you want to avoid a situation when the person isolates, pulls back, withdraws, starts abusing, you know. Instead of that, you want the person to connect and get a breakthrough. And remember, you should always have some emergency contacts, 116, that is Red Cross. They offer free counseling, and there are many others. I'm just giving you the ones that are widely known. And you could do this giving the person, so that's the second last step, signposting them to where they can actually get help. And then finally, after a while, tell them, here's my number. I would like to follow up with you and know how you're doing. after a while, let me know when I can call you. So always let the person give you permission. Otherwise, you're intruding and you're bullying the person. I hope we are all together up to there. And just as we finish, I want to also encourage all of you to start a journal as entrepreneurs, aside from recording your savings, as Joel has been making us all record our savings. We should also record how we are doing. You know, our experience of life. Have you been able to reach out to your friend? Have you asked a colleague to visit a professional, psychologist or mental health professional? What are the wonderful things? What are your successes? What are your challenges? A journal could be like a 2-paragraph letter to yourself. You do that every day. It does improve your mental health because you're able to reflect back and see, and maybe sometimes even laugh. I convene a group called Humor for Resilience, where we laugh every time, 24 hours a day. So you want to keep a journal as your private property as one way to just improve your mental health. It is something I highly recommend to everyone. And I'm going to share my contacts in case any of you would like to reach out. And I think that is it now. All right, so I think I can take questions at this time because we only have about 10 minutes to the end of this call. Joel, over back to you. Do we have any questions in the chat? I see some questions in the chat. Joel?
Yes.
Can I proceed?
Yes, yes, somebody is asking.
Okay.
Somebody is asking, does junk food really affect mental health?
Good question. So I can take that one and then I proceed.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jim Reeves, thank you for your question. Of course it does. So we know that now there is a brain-body connection. And so whatever you eat in your gut is very important because it will either improve your health or worsen your health. So you need to avoid junk food as much as possible. I know you entrepreneurs, you're busy people. Sometimes you don't have time to make square meals for yourselves, but you want to avoid junk food at all costs. It may give you a spike in energy, then you get a crash in your energy soon after. But there are also foods that are called feel-good foods, so you can have foods, a lot more vegetables and fruits, especially now there's an obsession with nutrition. I know some of you entrepreneurs are now into selling all these nutritional things. Like I hear lemons are now out of business. There was a time in Nairobi lemons were nothing, but now lemons are everything. And ginger, that is good stuff for your brain. You can actually Google this, and I know all of you are good online. And of course, so you need to eat well. So that's for sure. Next, I see Jim Reeves also asking, how best can you advise on emotional intelligence? That is, if human action is highly dependent on mindset. Oh, I love that question. So actually what I was talking to you about today, how to help a friend when they say they are vulnerable and they are undergoing depression, is actually emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is about sensing the vibes of or the energy of people around you and knowing your most relevant response. Okay, so in other words, being in the context of the people around you and dressing for the occasion and speaking in that occasion. So but the key to emotional intelligence is listening. We are very poor in listening. In my 15-year career, I've been in school throughout. I'm finishing my doctorate now. My main training is on listening skills. But I can tell you, human beings, we do not listen to each other. If only we could listen, to each other, we would increase our emotional intelligence. And instead of jumping to advise somebody so much, remember I said advice is like poking somebody in the eye, just share from life. Many adults will come around when they listen from your example, And of course, human action is highly dependent on mindset. And there are many proven techniques on how to shift your thinking so that you are actually having a healthy life. Thinking is something that can be trained. You can actually train yourself to think better. A lot of us just allow a lot of automatic negative thoughts. We call them ants. Automatic negative thoughts to rule our lives, but we don't have to. All of us have those automatic thoughts, I might have a thought about you right now, but by just staying with it and even listening to myself, then I can shift my mindset, and that way I can improve my life. Okay, Mother, can I please get a recording? Yes, of course. Joel, will you share the recording?
Yes, I will. I'm recording.
Okay, good. Fatma Sharif, thank you for being here. How would you differentiate mental health and mental illness? Really good question. So as I said earlier, mental health has two aspects or two facets, okay? And I said that mental health has mental well-being, and there's even a chart. If you just Google chart on mental health, you'll see mental well, or you can go to my website. There's webinar I did just on that, wangari.africa. So mental well-being is on thriving and flourishing. And we even have tests to just know how well are you well, okay? And then mental illness is actually a condition. It's the same as what we call people with lived experiences of this and that, okay? So it's actually a condition, and we should regard mental illness just like the way when you have an accident, a broken leg, or a physical illness. It's the same thing. And that illness has to do with the brain and also our thoughts and our emotions. And I am a clinical psychologist. I'm actually trained mostly to work with people with mental illness. So if you have clinical depression, which is of a severe form, that affects you, you're not able to walk, you're not able to talk to people, that is actually a mental illness. And for depression, you must have had it for at least 2 weeks, and there's a set of symptoms we look for, a total of 9 symptoms, but you must have at least 2 of them. So for example, for depression, you probably have sadness, persistent low mood or sadness, and lack of interest, what we call anhedonia. You have no enjoyment in the activities you're used to. That's actually an illness, you know. So you're probably seeing your friends who are staying at home, they don't have any work, no money, and they're very irritable. They're tired all the time. Hata ukimwangalia hivi vizuri, maybe hajaoga poa, hakuli poa, they're just not looking okay, you know. They are not able to make decisions, you know. They feel worthless. And a lot of times depression can also lead to suicide. That's an example of an illness, you know, where you feel like you're better off dead. But if you had any of your friends who are experiencing that, you need to refer them to professional help, okay? I hope, Fatma, I have answered your question. All right, Joel, please help me read the rest.
Yeah. Trying to check another one here.
I think we are at Nicholas Outa. His is a comment. You can start.
Yeah, Nicholas Outa. He's saying many of us shy off from seeking help, especially in areas of mental health. Just like we go to the hospital. When you're down with malaria, let us seek help. We have mental health diseases. Yes, that is very true. Now there's another question here from Michaela Mboya. How do you handle anxiety when it starts to feel like you're dissociating from reality and your own body?
Mm-hmm. And I think the next one is also connected. Is anxiety part of mental illness, or can it be associated with character? These are wonderful questions. Keep your questions coming. So I'll take those two together. Yeah. Michaela, thank you for being here. It's a great question. How do you handle anxiety when it starts to feel you're dissociating from reality and your own diagnosed illness? Mercy to you. And it is not just a character flaw. You know, we use the word anxiety in everyday life. Nikona anxiety, Nikona depression. But actually, those are some serious mental health conditions that have different levels of severity. So it's not just a character thing, okay? It is mostly, we'll say that somebody is struggling for a period. It's an episode, okay? And we will use a list of criteria as found in the DSM-5 to actually diagnose which type of anxiety it is, because there are several. There is what we call generalized anxiety, where you have constant worry. Then we have anxiety, that is social anxiety. There are people who are completely afraid of speaking in front of other people. So the anxiety only comes in social situations. Then we have specific phobia. There are people who, if they enter a lift and they're supposed to move from ground to floor, I don't know if we have any of us here very scared of heights. They will be completely afraid. They will start sweating. Their chest becomes hot. The head is throbbing. Their knees are wobbling. They don't have any energy. That's an anxiety-specific phobia, all right? Then we have what we call panic attacks. Panic attacks are very, very brief, but highly unpleasant situation where you feel like you have an upsurge of your tension, the worry, your blood pressure might go up, you have an intrusive thought, you are completely restless, on edge, irritable. I've seen some people with panic attacks who are crossing the road and they just fall. That can be very dangerous. We have many types of anxiety disorder. There's also obsessive compulsive. There are now people with the pandemic whose OCD has gone up. They are constantly washing their hands. That's a type of an anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive. And then, of course, PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. And I don't have time to go into all that. But yes, anxiety can create dissociation. Like you feel like you are floating in space and you are not in your own body. The first step is to just have these people go to professional help. So you need to signpost your friend or your colleague or yourself. And when you get a proper evaluation done by a mental health practitioner like myself, then you begin to understand that where your fears are irrational or unrealistic and where your fears are rational or realistic, okay? So often, many people will know that. They know when the fear is excessively irrational and not even true. And we begin to create specific coping strategies for each and every person. Remember, we said we are all diverse and unique, and no one set of advice or strategies works for everyone. So we are always use both emotion-focused techniques and problem-focused or solution-focused techniques. For example, if you're always triggered when you enter a lift, how else then can you be going to an office that is on the 10th floor of a building? If your anxiety is around a specific phobia, for example, okay? If you are experiencing rapid heart rate, and you're sweating and you have shortness of breath and you're just before a group of people about to make a presentation, you even start feeling dizzy, we create some specific interventions like the breathing technique that Mother Murunga typed for us, the 4-7-8. You breathe in for 4, you hold for 7, you breathe out for 8. I might even ask you, whenever you have a presentation, to have a loving presence of a friend, either a memory of a friend or a real friend in the audience, so that this person reminds you that everything is fine and you'll be okay. So remember, we work with everybody on a case-by-case basis. And yes, anxiety is treatable. It's one of the highly treatable, just like depression and many other conditions that can be treated. So I see many more questions. Joelle asking, what do you advise me to do? I'm worried about my mental health. That's a brilliant question, Joelle. Just on how can one avoid chronic diseases affecting our mental health, like depression? That's a good one. So what to do when you're worried about your mental health is obviously to check in. Right now, you can check into your general practitioner, any doctor near you. You can call. There's so many numbers. I mentioned one of them, the Red Cross toll-free number, 166? Can somebody check that for me, please? There are so many free counseling lines, day and night. They are 24/7. The government has set up that support, and these are all manned by professionals. And I happen to know most of those lines and the people who are in those offices. They are doing an amazing job. So if you think you're worried about your mental health, talk to someone. It's only by sharing that you can begin to do what we call reality testing. So you validate by somebody saying, enyewe ukukula jana yote, hiyo si kawaida, appetite yako imeisha. Something that shifts in your daily routine is the first signal that your mental health may be not so okay, all right? And then Peterson, how to avoid something like depression is the basics, as I said. I talked about sleep, diet, exercise, community, faith, or spirituality in whatever form you call it. That's what I say. That is the way to prevent chronic illnesses like depression. And of course, you only know you have depression if that is diagnosed by a doctor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, all right? So good. Fatma says, thank you. I have answered your question. Good, great discussion. Daniel asks, how to eliminate chronic disease caused by depression. So depression is a highly treatable condition. I am trained in cognitive behavior therapy, which is how your cognition, your thinking, connects to your behavior through your feelings. So if you think of a triangle, your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors are all connected. And it is possible to be fully healed of depression if you can work on the thought, the limiting belief that is underlying how you're feeling. I gave you an example of somebody who feels they are embarrassed because they shared in the group. And then later they even had a thought about this feeling that they thought they are stupid and an idiot. And that made them feel worse, and that made them leave the group. All right, that's an example. And so we work with this person to really shift that underlying belief. And so they can create options on how to think better so that they feel better and act better. I'm also highly, highly passionate about creative arts therapies. I know a lot of you youth, you love music, you love, art. So I do a lot of art therapy, play therapy, music therapy, movement therapy. These are ways that sometimes in your brain, we have the conscious brain, unconscious and subconscious brain. Sometimes if you're not able to verbalize things, you can write them in a journal. Like I suggested to all of you to begin a journal. You can write an entry every morning and every evening and begin to track how you're doing. And you don't have to write it in words. You can draw, you can write a link of a music piece that you like and things like that. So that is how you can actually get treated for depression. But remember, depression has to be diagnosed by a professional. You don't just do it over Google. All right, I see many more questions. Thank you so much, Fatma, for sharing the number. It's 1199 Red Cross for free counseling. There are many. That is just one of them. So feel free to call them. Even if you're just wanting to talk to someone, you don't have to wait until you have a big crisis, then you call the free number, okay? So thank you, Fatma. So El Kimani asks, how does one get unstuck in terms of staying motivated when dealing with mental illness? Oh, brilliant question. Then Jim Reeves says, sadly, I developed ulcers some 2 months ago. On the advice of my doctor, he said, I actually need to conceptualize things from a different perspective. I try to do that, but a shift of the mind doesn't seem to work. Bottom line is many people suffer deep inside, but they chose not to speak, and some thoughts can be dehumanizing. How best can we handle our deepest fears? And also, how best can I jolt my mind as advised? Wow, that's a very interesting question, because ulcers is actually what we might consider a psychosomatic illness. So again, if we stay with, I talked about incubating versus processing, and if we stay with a lot of the stress that is ongoing, especially with the pandemic, it is possible that our bodies could take it up. Your body is trying to help your mind to process it. And so the body can develop ulcers. And I like what your doctor said, conceptualizing things from a different perspective. If you sign up for counseling, what you get is a dedicated listener who takes you through a highly customized and individualized treatment plan that moves you from where you are right now, stuck. The mind doesn't seem to work. Right now, you are handling your deepest fears, and you may not want to speak to everyone. A lot of your thoughts that could be dehumanizing, and you are wondering about jolting your mind. You move from that state to a shift or a transformation in how you operate. And that is the beauty of signing up for an individualized counseling session. So that is what I would recommend to you. Some of the tips I've said today are what you would call public education. These things will happen when you're in a real relationship with a professional who cares about, how you're going to move and the things that actually work for you, not just for different people. Like today, I'm mentioning different tools from my toolbox, but you can check into somebody who can actually walk the journey with you. So that's what I encourage you to do. So again, motivation is one of the ways that a lot of us have been affected. Our focus, our concentration, we are feeling quite demotivated, especially because the routine of things has shifted a lot. And so the question on getting unstuck, especially when handling mental illness, again, a professional will give you your best pathway to follow. These are things you discuss, one-on-one. But I would say as a rule of thumb, reach out, share, connect. Don't just stare. And it's wonderful that you're even talking about it today. So I hope that answers you. So Marianne, I've always had OCD from when I was young. Does that mean I'm suffering from anxiety? No. So OCD, if you were young and you had that, if you're currently having an anxiety episode, it's just now good for you to look at if you're having any triggers, and at least you know what OCD is. So then you can create for yourself to always be on the lookout for the triggers that would worsen your condition, okay? So Marianne, you only know your diagnosis if you get a proper evaluation. And then Evans asks, what are some of the healthy coping mechanisms that someone can actually adopt during a mental breakdown? Oh, I love this question. So of course, Evans, the healthy coping mechanisms are the ones that you know to do whenever you know when you're veering off course. So it's like asking, when a car is on the road and suddenly it's in a ditch, how do I return it back to the road? Okay, so like asking, like you are doing right now, connecting to people, having people know what you need is very important. And we call that patient advocacy. Since you even know what a mental breakdown is and what is your normal or what you need. So remember, we were all born into relationships. Please utilize these relationships and ask people for what you need. If you need some time alone, that's all right. That's fine. A lot of people who have, a mental breakdown or an episode, they may need lots of reassuring. You may need, maybe you feel like you should hide your feelings in order not to upset other people. But remember, I usually say, if you could just stand on the mountaintop and shout, you'll probably have one person who will listen. Yes, the stigma is high and it is real, but not everybody will insult you or minimize it. So just be patient and keep looking for what works. You can use some calming techniques to get back to the present. It's very important. I have sometimes asked people to tell me, what can you see around you? What day is it today? Those questions are bringing you back to the present, to the here and now. So that is something that I'd recommend to you. So Fatma asks, breathing technique, can you say 7-3 or what did you say? I said 4-7-8. There are many if you Google online, but I like this one because it's in seconds. And yes, Evans, thank you for answering. 4 seconds, you breathe in, you hold for 7 seconds and exhale slowly for 8 seconds. Remember to exhale all the carbon dioxide along with the fear and the depression and the tiredness and all those feelings you're feeling. So you can repeat this as many. That's the easiest way to bring back yourself into a calm state. It actually tells your body we're doing well. And the parasympathetic nervous system is activated because when we are feeling stressed, your sympathetic nervous system starts going into fight, flight, or freeze mode. But now you want to return to the rest, heal, and digest mode. That is the parasympathetic nervous system. All right. Thank you so much. Do we have anything else? Over to you, Joe.
I think there's no other question.
Okay.
From what I can see from my end. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, Susan Derito, just sneaked in a question.
Okay.
Thank you for your question. What is OCD? Obsessive compulsive disorder is one of the anxiety type disorders. And there are lots of people now in the pandemic who have noticed they have OCD. It's again a diagnosable condition. Michaela, maybe I should share my contacts, but you can also, I'll post them on my website as well. But there are so many toll-free numbers. The one I mentioned is only Red Cross. So Susan, back to OCD. So obsessive compulsive is a condition where you have obsessive thoughts and a compulsive behavior accompanying it. For example, hand washing, you keep washing your hand, or you keep going back to your house to check if it's locked. And it's only diagnosable by a mental health professional. Any of the conditions I've mentioned today can only be diagnosed by a mental health professional. So I've sent my number. If any of you would like more conversations, just WhatsApp me, and that's my website. I will post all toll-free numbers. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that wonderful talk. It is very motivating. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. It is very wonderful to see all of you. Yeah. Maybe I can take this time to explain to those probably who do not understand what we do in the youths in business platform.
I was going to ask you. Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. So what we do in the youths in the Anestor Youths in Business platform is that we give information. We realized that most of the youths really do not have information that is required for them to develop, at a personal capacity and in their businesses. So you're there, you're a youth, maybe you have a good job or you have, nothing, but you have really no idea what you should do with yourself. You have some 50,000 somewhere, you don't know where to invest them, you don't know, the metrics of savings, you don't know where to, a lot of things. You don't know about shares. Yeah, so this is the kind of information we try to give these youths, so that at least you can have a lot of options with yourself, so that you can inform yourself, have more options within yourself, so that you can grow. So this week we are actually supposed to be tackling real estate. We go deep into research, we get data. Yeah, we analyze it, we see how the trend goes, and then now we feed the information to you guys. So that is basically what we do. Yeah. So anyone with a question about that, about the group?
Maybe share the link for the guests to join.
Yes.
Yeah, Miriam is asking.
Yes, I will definitely share that link. I don't know if I can share it right now here. I don't know. But maybe I can, if you need to join, maybe I can share my number and then I can send the link later on. Yeah, so that's my number there. I hope everybody can see that. So if you need to join the group, then I'll send you the link and then you will join, so that we can all grow together, because we believe in that group that today and tomorrow belongs to us. Yeah. So I think, and unless there is anyone else with a question or a comment, I don't have anything else.
All right. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful talk. We shall call you again, and this time it will be bigger and better. Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you everyone for attending. I think we are done now. Yeah, I will share the recording with the other guys who are not able to join. Yeah, I have the recording with me. Thank you so much, everyone.